Why weren't you and Vice President Harris here in Washington commanding this weekend?
Hi there, my name is Suri Crowe, and you are watching the MeidasTouch Network. The White House press corps writ large is absolutely shameful. Like, I cannot believe how bad some of these so-called journalists are. I honestly don't know if some of them are actually journalists. Like, I'm beginning to wonder, are they just people that were yanked off like interns off the street when I listen to crap like this?
In respect, do you wish that you were put more resources in North Carolina, knowing what you know now? And do you wish that you spent the weekend here in Washington rather than in Delaware?
Come on, it's not that game. Rather than Delaware, it's 90 miles from here, okay? And I was on the phone the whole time working on that. And the resources, the question is not whether we get more, this is a list of every resource we're getting in there, but the question is how to get it in. It's hard to get it from point A to point B. It's hard to get it if some of these roads are wiped out, communities are wiped out. There's no ability to land, there's no ability to get trucks through, there's no ability to get a whole range of things through. So, I mean, anyway.
Mr. President,
if I sound frustrated, I am.
Why weren't you and Vice President Harris here in Washington commanding this weekend?
I was commanding. I was on the phone for at least 2 hours yesterday and the day before as well. I command. It's called a telephone. And all my security people.
Is it not important for the country to see?
How are you this ill-informed? Where did you learn your journalism? Seriously, because that ain't it. Corporate media or media at large has been cost-cutting and cost-cutting, so it honestly wouldn't surprise me if they just grabbed interns who don't know a thing about journalism and they throw them in there to go interview the president of the United States. Like that's like a job that I would, like, my whole life I would have aspired to, or still would. Like, I think it would be an honor to go and sit down and interview President Biden. And you have these little trolls in there asking horrible, rude, disrespectful questions of a man in the middle of handling multiple crises. Joe Biden is the sitting president of the United States. He can be at the White House from Rehoboth Beach in minutes by Marine One. He has state-of-the-art technology with him wherever he goes to hook him up to speak to pretty much anyone in the world whom he needs to speak to. You know, he's able to do that. I mean, are you going to start asking him how he can commandeer a situation from Air Force One? Like, the stupidity of these questions. I mean, I've tried to find out who these reporters are. I couldn't, but man, embarrassing, shameful, really, really bad, really bad. And President Biden had already approved federal aid before Hurricane Helene had even hit the coast of Florida, as he did with Hurricane Ian. Like, the man is on top of things. He's not sitting around waiting for things to happen. He's like, we know this is coming. Let's be on it. And you, as a reporter, should have known that. Did you not do your background before you walked out and covered your story and your assignment for the day? Like, here's another idiotic hit job question.
Mr. President and Governor Cooper, Donald Trump has accused both of you of ignoring the disaster.
He is lying. Let me get this straight. He's lying. And the governor told him he was lying. The governor told me he was lying. I've spoken to the governor, spent time with him, and he told me he's lying. I don't know why he does this. And the reason I get so angry about it, I don't care about what he says about me, but I care what he communicates to the people that are in need. He implies that we're not doing everything possible. We are. And you spoke to the governor. I assume you heard the Republican governor of Georgia talk about that he was on the phone with me more than once. So that's simply not true, and it's irresponsible.
I honestly don't know how President Biden even remotely held his cool. I would have walked out and said, you are wasting my time. I really would have. This man is running a multi-state disaster situation with multiple governors, billions of dollars, and lives at stake. And these fools are giving credence to a pathological liar who is a 34 times convicted criminal. That is just pure gaslighting. What an actual journalist would have done is ask Donald Trump, why are you lying about the Biden administration's response to Hurricane Helene, when Republican governors have been praising the rapid and comprehensive response of the Biden administration? These people are propagandists. I would love to know who they are. In my many, many years of covering weather emergencies at FEMA press conferences, etc., not at the level where I'm talking to the President of the United States, if I had asked a question or questions like this, my colleagues would have looked at me like I was a moron, and I would have deserved it. But these people are covering the White House. How far have we sunk? Is this the rot and the disease that Fox has caused our media ecosystem? For God's sake. I mean, look at how far we have fallen. Our press corps is just badly broken. More on that in a minute. Ali Adair posted this on X. When did it become normal for reporters to ask slanted, rude as F questions to the President of the United States? It's sickening to listen to. Show some respect for your profession. Monty Speaks wrote, reporters just yelling dumbass questions at POTUS and VP is really getting tired. No truth in journalism anymore, just lies and propaganda. Why aren't the reporter people asking for Donald Trump, who is in clear cognitive decline, to step out of the race, huh?
Beneficiaries of school choice here in Wisconsin, sisters Michaela and Leah Lawrence. Where may you look at you? Look, both attended St. Marcus Lutheran School, a high-performing K through 8 private school.
He is a disaster. He is a mess. He is a whole hot mess. Listen to this.
The Green News scam is one of the greatest, most difficult things to be watching.
If this was President Biden, there would be Meet the Press emergency roundtables. George Stephanopoulos would be demanding a sit-down one-on-one interview. Non-stop columns in the Washington Post. David Ignatius would be writing column after column. You must resign, Mr. President, which is what he was doing with President Biden. Oh my God, the New York Times would have column after column, Above the Fold, Politico, on and on and on, which is what they did to President Biden. But Trump can slur, pathologically lie every single day of every single hour and interfere his way into a deadly hurricane situation. And the press wants to bully Joe Biden? Who is doing the job at a level so well that even the MAGA governors are praising him?
I just spoke. The president just called me yesterday afternoon. I missed him and called him right back. And he just said, hey, what do you need? And I told him, you know, we got what we need. We'll work through the federal process. He offered that if there's other things we need, just to call him directly, which I appreciate that. But
as of today, what has been the ongoing kind of federal assistance for South Carolina?
It's been superb.
Even my MAGA governor, Glenn Youngkin.
Appreciative of the rapid response and the cooperation from the federal team at FEMA. I've been on the phone over the weekends with the senior FEMA administrator. The team has been deployed. We had our declaration of emergency processed.
Here's President Biden, who waited to go into the disaster zone so as not to interfere with rescue and recovery operations the way that Trump did with his revolting stunt in Georgia, where he diverted resources so he could have his ego blown. President Biden was there to offer support and find out what people need, what resources they need, despite the lies that Fox propaganda is spinning.
Now, if Trump had been president over the past 10 days, a lot of people in the federal government would have been working a lot of nights and on the weekend to prepare for this hurricane.
And may I remind you, Laura Ingraham, your cult leader was doing everything he could to shut down the federal government just days before Hurricane Helene hit. And, you know, by the way, there are other storms brewing on the back of this one. And each of these storms is increasingly stronger, faster, and more dangerous because of us, because of human-caused climate change. The oceans are warmer, and that is causing hurricanes to form more rapidly, and they are covering more square mileage. And here is a North Carolinian remembering how cruel and lazy Donald Trump's response to Hurricane Florence was when he was in office. Check it out.
Back when Hurricane Florence hit in North Carolina, Donald Trump sat on his fucking ass for 2 months. He let the government shut down. 41 people died, and Roy Cooper had to get on his fucking knees and beg him for 2 fucking months for help. All right, you want to know where my president's at now? All right, he's already declared North Carolina a federal disaster. All right, which speeds FEMA up. All right, we got 3 federal teams here already in the first place. We got 50 search teams, 19 states sending helicopters and fucking supplies and manpower. You want to know where the fuck my president is? He's here. All right.
Funny. I don't recall the press harassing Donald Trump about letting people die the way they do about Biden making phone calls from his beach house versus the Oval Office. Like, you know, The fact that President Biden was at his beach house seems to be a huge issue, but Donald Trump just refusing to free up federal aid and allowing people to die. I don't really remember the press covering that. I just don't. I am appalled at the lack of integrity the mainstream press has. By the way, I was pretty much blackballed by the right-wing media group Sinclair I worked for because I refused to go along with their narrative about Trump and his climate science denialism in his first run-up to the White House. And it eventually cost me my job. It did. I was relentlessly bullied by my bosses at Sinclair. Like, it was really, really bad. Like, they just harassed me every single day of my job and made my life a living hell. But I am proud of myself for standing up for the truth, because that's my job as a journalist, is to seek out and report the truth. I don't know who these pretend reporters are who are wasting President Biden's extremely valuable time. President Biden is not perfect. He isn't. I've been critical of his handling of this mess in the Middle East, led by the power-hungry and very MAGA, very Trump-like Bibi Netanyahu. But by all other measurable metrics, President Biden is having one of the greatest presidencies in history, and that's just in one term. And on a day when Jack Smith's damning indictment of Trump's alleged election crimes regarding January 6th is released, and we all know what Donald Trump did, I'm with Black Knight, who says, still waiting on literally anyone from the media to push for Trump to drop out for trying to overthrow the government the way they did Joe Biden for having a cold at the debate. I mean, does that just not lay it all out there? That Joe Biden had one bad night. He had a cold because he was flying from one end of the globe to the other, trying to hold the NATO alliance together, trying to make sure that Putin didn't crush Ukraine, campaigning, running the nation. He had a cold. He had one bad night. But the media was like, oh, we are out to get him and we're going to win. They were the ones who pulled off the coup, really. I mean, say what you want about the jerkhead Democrats who stabbed him in the back, but it was the media pounding President Biden for years. You're too old, you're too frail. Meanwhile, we have this rambling, mentally impaired psychopath, aka Donald Trump, and the media just gives him all the airtime and all the oxygen it wants to. But the sad and cold hard truth is that people make money selling the craziness and the psychopathy of Donald Trump. And it's not just the corporate media. You see it here on YouTube as well. Click, click, view. What craziness is Donald Trump up to? You know, I was telling one of my good friends earlier today that President Biden is like the good kid. He wakes up early. He works out. He loves his wife and he loves his family. He's a really healthy human. He shows up on time. He aces the test. You can count on him. But that's not as exciting because the one that everyone pays attention to is the kid who is the arsonist. It's the kid who shows up and burns the school down. That's what everyone's looking at. And it's really sad, but it's like, you know, in every newsroom I've ever worked on, like, we didn't lead the newscast with the feel-good story of the day. It was the train wreck. What terrible news can we lead the newscast with? Because that's what people tune in for. You know, I mean, I do believe that there are a few people out there who want to hear some good news, but by and large, the human condition wants to see what terrible, awful things have happened. And that's why Trump sells. He makes money for creators, for corporate media, for everyone. And I just hope that we wake up enough to realize that you don't want someone like that holding the levers of power, because he's extremely dangerous. And once again, he is just about this close to getting back into the White House. And it is Joe Biden who gets up and does the work every day with his responsible cabinet members. Thank God we have somebody like Secretary Buttigieg and all the other cabinet members in there, and the responsible fortitude and strength and wisdom of a President Joe Biden. Thank God. We've got to do something to fix our media system. And we really, I mean, this is a personal passion I have. I just want to educate people why it is so important to be able to figure out what is real and what is true. And it's getting harder because of AI and because the richest man in the world controls this media platform called X, which is just full of lies and disinformation. And people make money off of pitching and selling bad news, but we've got to teach people to figure out what is real and what is true. And, the press used to be the canary in the coal mine. Now they're complicit. It should have never been President Biden who dropped out of the race. Should have never been him. I know where we are right now. I understand that, but past is prologue. I think it's very important to understand how we got to where we are. Should have never been him. Should have been Donald Trump a long time ago. The press should have gone after Donald Trump every single day, held his feet to the fire, held his tiny little hands to the fire. But they didn't. They went after the good guy, the guy who does his homework, the guy who has held our world and this nation safely in his hands and has done so many good things. And I find it very unfortunate and very freaking irresponsible. And I would like to see us find a way to a safer, healthier media system. I wish more people would watch PBS and NPR. Unfortunately, they don't. So I don't know what the answers are, but I know that Germany figured it out after World War II, after the demise of Hitler. Like it's illegal to have a swastika flag. You can't have those in Germany. And here in America, you can wave a Confederate flag. And that is a relic of a very evil time in American history. We have not figured out our lessons yet. And that's how we are right back here. Praying for everyone who has suffered through the ravages of Hurricane Helene. And I'm praying that our nation makes the right choice. I'm praying, and I'm doing everything I can. Doing everything I can for you, Dark Brandon. All right, my name is Suri Crowe. Thank you for watching. Put your thoughts and comments below, and peace.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.